This entire video is sponsored by Squarespace. Okay, so this is the situation I've got right now. Twin turbo Gallardo just parked up in my back garden, standard, because we want to get the garage done. We need to get this knocked down, built wider, so then we can finally park the Gallardo in there and it has its nice little cozy home. Hey, there's worse problems to have. The cold start is kind of loud, but yeah, it is loud. Before we get onto the RS5, we're heading to a little meet just to see what it's like and just taking the Lambo out for a little drive. We've got Liam on the channel and finally we've got good tyres on the Lambo. The car's running right, so it's time for some little sense. Well, when I say little sense, I mean some full sense. Okay, Lambo parked up, ready, but you guys need to come over here because people are full sending it. Oh! The keys are in the door. Come on, my folks! Let's try his best, bless him. He's getting shouted. Now, after letting pretty inexperienced drivers drive pretty quick cars out of an event on a small single track road, the inevitable happened. The driver of this brand new Yaris GR lost control of it when leaving the event and actually managed to steer into the crowd. It actually turned out that the Yaris managed to injure someone. It's really not a clever idea to leave events like this, but if there's anything I can do or we as a channel can do for that person that got injured, then reach out to me on my Instagram. It is literally an event every time I drive the Gallardo, and it's still a dream to own one. Never mind a twin turbo one, but today's video is not on the Gallardo, neither the 140i. It is on Hannah's Audi RS5. We need to get this thing back on the road, so Hannah has finally got a daily car, and it's in a bit of a state at the minute. Come on, it's been a bit of time. Will it start? Yes, first time and no doubting the RS5. Okay, so we made a bit of progress in the last video on the RS5, but, well, not enough. There's still quite a lot to do. Okay, so now we have this sort of bash bar on, which we had to strip the whole front end off to get that on, and we've got the radiators and all the coolers which are mounted to that. We've got a new headlight in, which is bringing a light on the dashboard, but we'll get to that as well. Then we've got this chassis damage right here, but again, we'll get to that as well. The first thing I want to concentrate on today is this suspension damage, as the wheel has been pushed, well, quite far back, and I've got a full new suspension leg with all the arms. We're not taking any risks. We want to get that thing sorted first. Okay, so luckily, it looks like there is no cracks in the alloys at all. So good old Audi wheels, staying strong there. But yeah, we need to replace these tyres. So Hannah, your time is now to go and replace these tyres. Let's get these in the 140. Okay, wheels off, ready for tyres. Let's crack on and get this whole suspension off because we are just completely unsure what part of it is bent. So first thing we need to remove is the anti-roll bar drop link. That's just a 16mm bolt at the back. Then we can remove the track rod end and this little 10mm bolt which is attached to the headlight adjustment. Then we move to this bolt here, which is actually the lower control arm, and why Audi put the bolt in this way I do not know, because when you try to remove it, it just hits the track rod. So one thing's for sure, that's going back in the other way. Then we can remove the bolt at the bottom of the damper. Then finally onto the lower rear arm, which also has a difficult bolt to get to because there's a heat shield in the way. But nevertheless, we can get to the heat shield with two 10mm bolts, and then we can start removing the really long bolt which holds in that lower rear control arm. And with some twist turns and a few hammers, I finally got the bolt out. Time to remove the drive shaft. Then the brake caliper, which is 2 big 21mm bolts at the back. Find a place to hang the brake caliper. Then we're onto the big brake disc, which to remove is just one T30 bolt. Behind that is a heat shield, which again is just a load of T30s. We can bring the car down, then begin to move the 4 bolts on the top mounts. And finally, the suspension is out. Okay, first job, now done and complete. And by the looks of things, in here, it looks like there's no, well, fingers crossed, no chassis damage or any damage to the subframe either. I think one of these arms is definitely going to be bent, and my suspicions are with this sort of banana rear arm there. I think that thing is bent. But luckily for me, we've got a load of brand new second-hand parts for the Audi RS5, and they've been made easier to find because you guys have been making really good websites by using Squarespace. From websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build and run your business. Now, if your business doesn't have a website, it's going to make it more difficult for you to build, expand, and just grow your company, which is why Squarespace has made it easy for anyone to be able to create a website, well, using Squarespace. Just check this out, it's easy. Okay, so to start off, there is loads of templates to choose from. I'm going to start with this one. Once you grab your template, everything's just in place, ready for you to customize it to make it look like your own. So I can drag and drop my own logos in there, resize them, change the text in there, and also drag and drop my own images in there. There's an old picture of my Bentley, which I well and truly miss. But you guys get the picture. It is pretty simple and easy to create a professional looking website. So when you need a website, go to squarespace.com or just click the link in the description box below, and when you're ready to launch, use code Matt Armstrong and you're gonna get yourself 10% of your first website or domain name. Right, we're about to see whether it was the suspension was bent or something more drastic. Let's get this on. So off we go, we're doing everything we just did, but back in reverse. Under sun. You can't take back them things you already done. No. I'm gonna give this wheel hub a bit of a clean up because it's got a lot of surface rust before we put on the brake disc, just to make sure it sits nice and flat. No. But they all see. In goes that lower control arm, with the bolt going in the way I think it should have. Oh, but still you try. Bit of grease on the track rod end. To cover up your game. Tighten everything up, put all the electrical connectors back in. And with a bit of luck, we're good to go. Okay, suspension is on now. At the minute, well, it looks quite straight, but before it did look quite straight. We'll only find out when we put the wheel on. So I'm going to take the wheel off that side because we don't have the wheels yet because they're getting tyres fitted to them. And then we can find out whether that's actually fixed it. It only really takes it to be out a tiny bit for it to be bent slightly back. But I think those arms, well, fingers crossed they've done the job. Fingers crossed. We're about to find out. And moment of truth, 2 fingers just on that side, it just rubbed. And I think that has done the job. Come on, get in. That was just pure guesswork. I guess we won't fully know how far it's out until we get it on like a tracking machine and a wheel alarm machine, which we will do once this thing's on the road. But I think that has just fixed it. God knows what was actually bent or broken on that, but it's fixed, I think. Okay, next part, which actually obviously needs to be fixed, is this part of the chassis here. Now this is actually, well, it's not a bolt on, bolt off as such, it's more of a drill off and weld on part. And you can actually buy these parts from Audi, which is exactly what I did. And these are the two parts here. This was quite difficult to get through to Audi exactly what I needed. Probably one of the most difficult places that I've dealt with so far. But eventually we got there, and it was a couple of £100 for the top and the bottom. Now, the top obviously sits like around like that, and that goes all the way back to the door back here, and then this is the bottom half, and you can see this sort of fused together like that. Now, we're not going to replace the whole leg. All I'm going to do is sort of cut it from here, cut that in the same place obviously, and then the bottom, we probably will go as far back there. This, well, it needs welding. It's aluminium, and I don't have an aluminium welder, but Mark, my trailer guy, does, so it's a case of waiting for Mark to come here to do that. And in the meantime, we need to actually strip this apart to get it ready for cutting and welding. Then we can actually learn from what Mark does, and maybe we'll do it ourselves next time. So let's strip this down first, and then we'll crack on with other stuff whilst we wait for Mark to come. Okay, so it looks a mess, but it's my mess, and I don't know what I'm doing. It's kind of. Well, now you can see exactly what we're replacing. You can see this in sections. So you've got the top section here, which rides all the way along until this point here, and then you've got the bottom section, which rides all the way along to around that point there. Now we have actually got a few things to fix on the front before we go and look at this rear bumper as well, and one of those things is this sensor right here. This is sort of a crash sensor, and it plugs in just underneath here where the headlight mounts. Now this sensor should actually look like that, and I've managed to buy like the sort of surrounding for this, so hopefully I can fix it, because this is part of well, this is part of this wiring part right here, which has been ripped out of somewhere around here, which is something that we also got to replace. So let's sort this out, sort all this mess out, then we can move on to that rear bumper. So this is the connector. It's a couple of quid from Audi. All I've got to do is pull the pins out of the old connector and repin it into the new connector. Once that's done, I can connect it back up to the sensor and into the headlight holder. Then I'm just going to splice and wire in all those wires which have been ripped apart from the rest of the wiring loom. I know, not the neatest of jobs, but it should work. Now the headlight washer pipe was also damaged, so I managed to get a spare pipe from a hardware store to replace that with, which runs straight to the washer bottle, which is stored on the inside of the wing, which you just saw me take off. So just bear in mind that I could choose not to film any of this and pretend I'm proper professional and do everything legit, but I'm just showing you guys how us DIYers do it. So all the wiring is now wired. Fingers crossed it actually works. I mean, my life depends on this airbag sensor, which I think I've done actually properly, but the rest, yeah, it's sort of spliced and it's got black electrical tape. So what? It's gonna work, hopefully. But our attention goes to the rear. Okay, so this is the annoying part of the rear bumper. This whole rear bumper is actually mint, and as RS5 bumpers go, they're not cheap, and well, it seems a shame to replace the whole bumper just based on that little crack there. And that is why I bought this RS5 bumper, second hand, off eBay, £100, absolute bargain. But there is a catch. It has damage here, it has damage here, and well, it's just not in the best condition, and as you would expect for £100. I don't think it's even the same colour as that RS5. So what we're going to be doing is, well, hopefully I can cut out this part here and then plastic weld it to there. Kind of easier said than done, but let's go for it.
I'll stay persistent. You need that distance.
So I'm going to use my Dremel just to cut out a big piece of that sort of scrap bumper.
Yeah, yeah. Please don't play no games with me.
Then I lined it up against, well, the better bumper. And then for me, it was just basically a trial and error to make that section fit into the better bumper. And once I got something I was fairly happy with, I bolted it onto the inside so it had a fixed location, then started to plastic weld it together. I could snip off the excess metal, then sand it down so it's nice and smooth. Now, I'm no master at any bodywork and I don't claim to be, but here goes nothing. First step is with some fiberglass. I added that to the bumper to fill any holes. Then once it had dried, I'd attacked it with a sander.
Cause I don't want anyone else but you. So why don't you love me? You put yourself way above me.
And once I finished that, I got the body filler out and then started body filling all the gaps. And whilst that body filler dried, Mark actually turned up, ready to do that front arch. Drilling out all those spot welds. And then using a hammer and a chisel to separate those two panels. Once you got the bottom panel off, we could angle grind the top panel as we won't be using the full thing, then line up the new panel against the old one. Meanwhile, I'm at the back bumper, sanding down the filler which is dry. And it turned out not so bad. I sort of surprised myself. Okay, I've probably used all the wrong tools in all the wrong places, but every single thing that I've learned in life, I've learned through just giving it a go myself. From wrapping a car, to buying a house, to, well, pretty much everything. And same comes to body filling and fixing a bumper. Okay, right now it doesn't look the prettiest, but it is super smooth and it's pretty much, well, it does follow the line of the bumper. You probably wouldn't tell that there was a massive hole in the bumper. Maybe you would, in fact you would at the minute. But I think the rest is for the painter to do. I've sort of got the foundations in place. Yes, this car's going to be painted because, well, if you think I'm wrapping another car after doing that 140, then you're absolutely mad. I need to give myself at least a month or so before I can sort of bring myself to wrapping another car. But I think that is not too bad, actually. Well, I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Here, I'm going to get roasted, I know. But now we have left over the old bumper, which is, well, only good for the bin. And the front end, yes, Marcus came. And we're sort of making progress with the front end. So this is literally where it is left off. So we've bolted in the new part, which is right here. And we're going to cut this section here and weld it to that section right there, put in the underpiece. The reason why we're not going to replace the whole thing is because, well, this goes all the way back to literally the door pillar and it's just going to be a nightmare to get to. So by just doing it here, sanding it down and making it look nice, giving it a bit of paint, we'll sort of get away with it, and you won't really be able to see it once the wing is on and once we give it a bit of a paint. But I think that is, well, so far so good. It didn't look too difficult, to be honest. And if you remember in the last video I said high-speed competitions are giving away this PlayStation 5 completely free. Tickets are still available, the link's in the description box below. And also, high-speed competitions are giving away this GTI as well, but this is $495. It's a Stage 3 Golf GTI. You can check out this with the link in the description box below as well. But I think we're gonna have to finish the video right there, else this is gonna get way too long and you or whoever you're watching the video with are just gonna get completely sick of my loud, shouty voice. But again, I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. If you've enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. But for now, me and Mark are gonna tackle this RS5 and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.